When your wife texts you that she's going on a trip with her ex, it doesn't feel real at first. You laugh, because it has to be a joke. But when the laughter fades, silence answers back. That night, I remember sitting in the dark, phone screen glowing on my hand like a wound that wouldn't close. Her name, Emily, at the top of the message thread. And right beneath it, going on a trip with my ex, don't be jealous, face blowing kiss dot. A kiss emoji. Like betrayal needed a smile. But let's rewind. Because stories like this never start with the explosion, they start with the quiet. With love. I met Emily 6 years ago at a bookstore in Pasadena. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor in the self-help section, reading a book about forgiveness. She looked up, smiled, and said, "You look like you're lost." And I was. Completely. We fell fast. The kind of love that fills the silence, where even arguments feel like music because you care too much. We built our home in Los Angeles, a small white house with a lemon tree in the backyard and mornings that smelled like coffee and shampoo. I used to wake up to her humming in the kitchen, sunlight spilling across her hair. She had this way of making me feel chosen. Like out of everyone, she picked me. But love changes. Sometimes slowly. Sometimes like a whisper turning into static. It started with little things. Missed calls. Late replies. The way she turned her phone upside down when she put it on the table. I told myself it was nothing. Because when you love someone, denial becomes your comfort zone. One night I asked, "You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" She smiled, that same soft, rehearsed smile, and said, "Just tired, babe. Work's killing me." I nodded, pretending to believe it. Pretending not to see the distance behind her eyes. I used to bring her flowers every Friday. It became our thing. She'd laugh and call it my grocery store romance. Then one day she said, "You don't have to do that anymore, Dave. We're not newlyweds." I laughed it off. But that line, it stuck in my chest. Because when someone stops wanting your love, they start resenting your effort. Weeks passed. She started working late. Sometimes she'd come home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. But I didn't ask. Because if you ask, you get answers. And I wasn't ready for answers. Instead, I started noticing patterns. New clothes. New perfume. New password on her phone. And this new habit, she'd take her phone into the bathroom during showers. No one does that unless they've got secrets that can't get wet. One night, while she slept, I looked at her phone lighting up beside her. A message popped up on the lock screen. A preview only. Just 5 words. "Can't wait for the trip, red heart." My heart stopped. Trip? What trip? I scrolled through my memory. Had she mentioned travel? Business? Family? Nothing. The next morning, over coffee, I tried to sound casual. "So, any plans this weekend?" She barely looked up from her phone. "Might go visit a friend. You'll survive without me, right?" I smiled, pretending her words didn't cut deeper than a knife. "Of course." That day, she wore red lipstick. The one she only used on special occasions. And I told myself, maybe she's just trying to feel good about herself. Maybe she's doing this for us. But deep down, something inside me started dying. That night, I couldn't sleep. The bed felt colder, like she'd taken the warmth with her when she turned away. Her breathing was soft, steady, peaceful. Mine wasn't. I got up, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water. The moonlight came through the blinds in broken lines, like prison bars across my face. I whispered to myself, "You're imagining things." But lies don't comfort you when you know the truth is pacing behind the door. I started noticing she didn't laugh the same way anymore. Didn't touch me without looking distracted. Even her hugs had expiration dates now. One night, I reached out to hold her hand during a movie. She flinched. Just a small movement. But small movements tell big stories. Then there was that dinner with her coworker. She spent 2 hours getting ready. When she came out, I couldn't help but stare. She looked beautiful, glowing, alive. But not for me. For someone else. You look amazing, I said. She smirked, checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. Thanks. Don't wait up, okay? She kissed my cheek, fast, distant, and walked out. The door clicked shut behind her. I stood there, hands still on my face where her lips had touched, wondering how something could feel so cold. That night I waited. 10 p.m. became midnight. Midnight became 2 a.m. When she finally came home, she smelled of smoke and wine. Her hair was messy, makeup slightly smudged. She smiled lazily and said, "You're still up?" "Couldn't sleep," I whispered. "Don't be weird, Dave. I told you it was work stuff." Then she went to bed. Just like that. Like my suspicion was an inconvenience. Days turned into weeks, and the silence between us got louder. Every morning felt like acting in a movie I didn't audition for. We'd talk about weather, groceries, bills, everything except the truth. One Sunday, I found her sitting in the backyard, scrolling her phone with a soft smile. "Who's making you smile like that?" I joked. She looked up sharply. "What's that supposed to mean?" I raised my hands. "Nothing. Just asking." She stood up, went inside, slammed the door. That's when I knew the truth wasn't hiding anymore. It was living among us. Still, I tried. God, I tried. I'd planned a surprise weekend for us in Big Bear, thought maybe if we just got away, we could find our way back. But when I told her, she looked disappointed. "Babe, that's sweet, but I already made plans with friends. Can we do it later?" "Friends?" I asked. "Yeah. Don't be jealous." She laughed and walked away. Don't be jealous. Those words, casual to her, fatal to me. That night I opened her laptop. I'd never done it before. It felt wrong, like stepping on sacred ground. But pain makes you forget morals. I found nothing at first. Then, in her downloads folder, a photo. Her and a man. Smiling. Her hand on his chest. Caption. Just like old times. The man was Ryan. Her ex. The one she said taught her what not to want in a man. Apparently, he was what she wanted again. I stared at the photo until my vision blurred. Then I closed the laptop, walked outside, and just stood there. The air was heavy. The lemon tree behind our house swayed like it pitted me. I thought about confronting her right there. But something held me back. Because once you say it out loud, once you accuse, there's no going back. You can't unhear a confession. The next morning, she was all smiles. Made pancakes. Kissed my forehead. Asked if I wanted to join her for a movie night that weekend. And I said yes. Because sometimes love is just fear wearing perfume. Later that night, she got another text. This time I saw it clearly. The preview said, "Trip details confirmed Red Heart." I swallowed hard. "Trip?" She froze for half a second, then smiled. "Oh yeah, I didn't tell you? I'm going on a small trip next week." "Where to?" "Palm Springs." "With who?" She hesitated. Then, like she was daring me to react, she said it. "Ryan." And smiled. That's when my world stopped spinning. I laughed. It sounded strange, broken. "Your ex?" "Relax," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's just a friend thing. Don't make it weird." My voice dropped. "You're going on a trip with your ex? Don't be jealous, Dave. It's just a few days. You trust me, right?" I stared at her for a long time, trying to see the woman I married under the stranger in front of me. But she was gone. And the silence between us said everything she wouldn't. That night I sat on the edge of the bed, typing slowly. "Don't worry. I won't be here when you get back." Then I hit send. The message delivered. And for the first time in months, I felt peace. Like this video if you've ever ignored the red flags you wish you hadn't. Once doubt moves in, it never pays rent. It just takes space, in your head, your chest, your sleep. After I sent that message, "Don't worry, I won't be here when you get back," she didn't reply. Not that night. Not the next morning. She just acted like it didn't exist. Morning, she said, pouring coffee, smiling faintly. Like we were fine. Like she hadn't shattered me in 2 sentences. Morning, I replied. My voice barely human. The silence between us was heavier than any argument. She asked if I could drop her at the train station Saturday morning. I said yes. Because I wanted to see it, the lie, one last time. But before Saturday came, the nights got darker. I started sleeping on the couch, pretending I fell asleep watching TV. Truth was, I just couldn't stand the sound of her breathing beside me anymore. Every inhale reminded me of how peaceful guilt can sound when it's well practiced. Tuesday night, she came home late. Said she'd been out, buying stuff for the trip. I asked, "What kind of stuff?" "Just clothes, babe. Don't act suspicious." Then she laughed, light, cruel, like my pain was something she could joke about. I said nothing. But inside, something broke quietly. The next morning I followed her. Not far, just enough to see. She wasn't going to work. She parked outside a cafe on Melrose and met someone. Ryan. He looked older than I remembered from her photos, same smirk, though. The kind of man who thinks every woman still wants him. They hugged. Too long for. Just friends. I watched from my car as she leaned in close, touched his hand, laughed at something he said. I couldn't hear a word, but I didn't need to. The body speaks its own language. Inez was fluent in betrayal. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Part of me wanted to storm in, throw his coffee in his face, tell her she was caught. But I didn't. Because anger gives them power. Silence gives you control. When she came home that evening, she smelled like the cafe, burnt coffee and guilt. "Good day?" I asked. "Yeah. Productive," she said. I smiled. I'm sure it was. She didn't notice the weight behind it. Or maybe she did, and didn't care. That night I couldn't eat. Couldn't think. I just sat in the living room staring at the wall, hearing echoes of their laughter. And somewhere between anger and heartbreak, I realized something. Love doesn't die in one blow. It dies in small, quiet murders. One lie at a time. One look too long at someone else. One. Don't be jealous. By Friday, she was packing. A red suitcase. The same one we used on our honeymoon. Fitting, I thought, taking memories to make new ones on top of my grave. She played music as she packed. Upbeat, careless. I watched from the doorway, invisible. "You okay?" she asked, catching me staring. "Never better," I said softly. She laughed. "Don't be dramatic, Dave." Then zipped her bag. Saturday morning, the sky was gray, like even God didn't approve of what was about to happen. I drove her to the station. She wore sunglasses, red lipstick, and a smile that wasn't for me. We barely talked. When we reached, she leaned over, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Don't wait up." Then she got out and walked away. I watched her until she disappeared behind the platform doors. Then I drove home. Slowly. Carefully. Like I was transporting my own corpse. The house felt haunted without her, not by her absence, but by everything she left behind. Perfume in the hallway. Hairbrush on the sink. 1,000 little ghosts whispering. She chose someone else. I poured a drink. Then another. Then another. Somewhere between the second and the fourth, I opened her laptop again. And this time, I found it. An email chain. Subject: Palm Springs, this weekend kiss Mark. Her messages to Ryan. Hotel booking confirmation. Room for 2. Check-in under Mr. and Mrs. Allen. She didn't even bother to change the name. I laughed, bitter, hollow. So this was it. The truth in pixels. Proof that my marriage had died quietly while I kept watering a corpse. I spent the rest of that night on the floor, staring at the ceiling. I didn't cry. Tears would have been mercy. I just felt nothing. A numbness that made me understand how heartbreak isn't pain, it's paralysis. On Sunday afternoon, curiosity won. I tracked her phone. I'd installed a location sharing app months ago. For safety. Now it showed a dot blinking in Palm Springs. By the pool. At a resort we'd once dreamed of visiting together. I zoomed in on the map until it blurred. It felt like watching my own life burn from space. Monday morning I called her. No answer. Then she texted. Hey, can't talk right now. It's hot here, face with tears of joy. Hot. Yeah, I bet it was. I almost texted back. Something cruel, something sharp. But I stopped. Because revenge isn't loud. It's patient. It waits for the perfect silence. So I waited. Tuesday came. She posted a story on Instagram. A drink. A pool. A shadow of two people. Caption. Much needed escape, red heart. I stared at it until my screen dimmed. By Wednesday, I wasn't sad anymore. I was focused. When she came back Friday night, I was sitting in the living room. Lights off. Her suitcase rolled in softly across the tiles. Oh, she said, startled. You scared me. Did you have fun? I asked. Yeah. It was nice. Needed a break. From what? She hesitated. From everything. You know. No, I said calmly. I don't. She sighed, set her bag down. Dave, can we not do this? Do what? Be weird. Sure. She walked past me, humming. I noticed her tan lines. Her skin smelled like tropical lotion and someone else's cologne. That night, she slept easily. I didn't. I just stared at her, memorizing every inch of the woman who used to be mine. And I thought, if love can rot, maybe I can too. The next few days, I became quieter. Detached. She noticed. You've been off lately, she said. I smiled faintly. Just thinking. About what? How people change. She froze for a second, then forced a laugh. Don't get all philosophical on me. Right, I whispered. Wouldn't want to ruin your peace. She didn't reply. But for the first time, she looked scared. I started moving things quietly. Transferring money from our joint account to mine. Packing small boxes when she wasn't home. Erasing my presence one item at a time. Every move I made felt colder, cleaner. Like revenge in slow motion. A week later, she mentioned Ryan again, casually, over dinner. He's thinking of moving back to LA, she said. That's great, I replied. You're not jealous? I smiled. Didn't you tell me not to be? She looked up sharply. Our eyes met. For the first time, I think she realized something had changed. The love she used to manipulate had turned into something she couldn't read anymore. That night, she asked if I was okay. I said, I'm perfect. And I meant it. Because for the first time in months, I wasn't reacting to her. I was planning. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Asked about quiet divorce proceedings, property rights, privacy clauses. Then I called a friend in real estate. Asked how long it would take to sell a house discreetly. By Friday, everything was in motion. While she was out with friends, I was erasing our life together from paper. Changing account passwords. Redirecting mail. Resetting. She didn't notice. Because people who live in lies never think they'll run out of time. Then one night, I found something that sealed it all. Her phone, left unlocked for a few seconds. I didn't snoop, I didn't need to. The screen lit up with a message. From Ryan. Miss you already? Same time next month? She smiled as she read it, right in front of me, unaware that I saw it reflected in the window. I whispered, Perfect. Because that was the moment I stopped being her husband, and became her consequence. When Emily walked out that night, saying she needed space, I didn't stop her. I just watched the taillights fade into the dark, and I swear, I didn't even blink. That silence that followed, it was louder than any argument we'd ever had. No screams. No slamming doors. Just me, the sound of my own heartbeat, and the echo of a love I couldn't recognize anymore. I sat there on the couch until morning. My body refused to move. The sun came up, painting the walls in soft orange, like it was mocking me, as if nothing had changed. But everything had. When the numbness faded, it left behind something colder, clarity. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to plan. See, betrayal doesn't just hurt, it educates you. It shows you what blindness costs. And I wasn't going to be blind anymore. I started small. Every day, I smiled at Emily when she called. I acted calm, distant, but still loving. She thought I was breaking apart inside. What she didn't know was, I was building something. Her trip, with her ex, Ryan, was still 2 weeks away. She thought I didn't know the truth, that I still believed her lies about a riding retreat. But I had the hotel details, the booking confirmation, the messages. And more importantly, I had patience. I started documenting everything. Dates, times, screenshots, photos of her lies. Not for court, not for divorce. For me. For the satisfaction of knowing that when it all came crashing down, there would be no way out for her. No excuses. No fake tears. At work, I was quiet. My coworkers thought I was just tired. But I was awake, more awake than I'd been in years. I visited her favorite coffee shop, the one she and Ryan used to meet in during college. The barista still recognized her name on the loyalty card. She smiled and said, "She's been coming back lately. Brings the same guy every Thursday." I smiled back, thanked her, and tipped extra. It wasn't anger. It was confirmation. And confirmation is a dangerous kind of peace. At night, I started journaling everything, not as a victim, but as an observer. I wrote, "She thinks she's living in a movie. I'll write her ending for her." The hardest part was pretending. When she came home after late nights at work, smelling of someone else's cologne, I didn't flinch. When she said, "I love you," I said it back softly. Because revenge, the kind that really stings, doesn't start with rage, it starts with silence. The day before her trip, she was packing. She tried to act nervous, maybe guilty, I couldn't tell. "Are you sure you'll be okay while I'm gone?" she asked. I smiled. "Don't worry about me." She smiled back, relieved. That's when I knew she had no idea what was coming. That night, while she slept beside me, I sent a few emails. First, to Ryan's employer, an anonymous message attaching screenshots of his affair with a married woman. Then to his fiancée, yes, the woman he'd been engaged to for the last 6 months, something Emily didn't even know. Then to Emily's boss, attaching photos of her vacation that was about to happen during her supposed mental health leave. When I finished, I looked at her, asleep, peaceful, like someone who believes the world is still kind. And I whispered, "Enjoy your trip." The next morning, she kissed my cheek, said, "Don't miss me too much," and drove off. Her car disappeared down the street. I exhaled, and smiled for the first time in weeks. 3 hours later, her phone pinged on my iPad, same Apple ID. Messages from Ryan. "Can't believe you're actually coming." Then another. "I think Sarah knows. She's acting weird." And finally, "We'll be fine. You're worth it." I turned off the screen and walked out. I didn't go to work. I went to the same hotel they were staying at. I didn't go inside. Didn't confront. Didn't scream. I just handed an envelope to the receptionist, with a note addressed to Room 407. Inside were printed copies of every message, every photo, every lie. No words. Just proof. Later that night, she called me. Her voice was shaking. "David, what did you do?" I said, calm and steady. "What I should have done months ago." She cried, begged, said it was just a mistake. I listened. Then I hung up. By the next morning, her life was in free fall. Ryan's fiancée posted the screenshots on Facebook. His company suspended him pending investigation. Emily's boss called her in for a professional discussion. And her mom, the one who adored me, called me to apologize. David, I don't know what's gotten into her, she said. I just told her. She's finally showing who she's been all along. But I wasn't done yet. No, revenge isn't about destruction, it's about symmetry. I wanted her to feel what I felt. To come home to silence. To realize what she destroyed wasn't just trust, it was peace. When she finally came back 2 days later, eyes swollen, hair a mess, she found the house half empty. Her things were in boxes. Mine were gone. On the kitchen counter, I'd left a single note. It read, "You told me not to be jealous. Don't worry, I'm not. I just don't love you anymore." She tried calling me all night. Then she texted, "We can fix this." Then, "Please, I made a mistake." Then finally, "I don't even know who I am without you." That last one made me pause. Because the truth was, I didn't know who I was without her either. Until now. That's when I realized something brutal but freeing. Sometimes, losing the person who betrayed you is the gift you never knew you needed. A week later, she showed up at my new apartment. Tears. Apologies. Promises. I stood at the door and listened, but not to her words, to the emptiness behind them. She'd already destroyed everything between us. All that remained was an echo. "David, please," she whispered. "I'll do anything." I looked her in the eyes and said quietly, "You already did." And then I closed the door. She stayed there, knocking, crying, until her voice cracked. Then silence again. That silence felt perfect. Now, sometimes, I still wake up at 3 a.m., thinking I hear her beside me. But then I remember, peace doesn't sound like her voice anymore. It sounds like quiet rain against the window. It sounds like breathing without pain. If you're still listening, remember this. Betrayal doesn't end you. It reveals you. It strips everything fake until you see what's real. And once you've seen that, you can never go back. "So yeah," she texted me. "Going on a trip with my ex, don't be jealous." And I wasn't. Because I was already gone. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, like and share this video. You never know who might need to hear this right now. Months passed. Seasons changed. But she didn't. Emily tried everything. Letters, emails, showing up at my job. Her words used to melt me. Now, they barely touch the surface. Because once a heart hardens from betrayal, no apology can reach it again. I'd moved into a small apartment overlooking the city. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Peaceful. Predictable. The kind of place where silence isn't scary anymore. Some nights, I'd sit on the balcony, sipping black coffee, watching the same skyline we once dreamed under. Funny how the same stars can shine over two people living in completely different worlds. One evening I got an email, from a law firm. It was about the divorce papers I'd filed quietly weeks ago. Apparently, Emily hadn't responded, so the court was granting a default judgment. Just like that, it was over. Years of love, lies, and memories, signed away in digital ink. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel pain. Just release. A few days later, I received another message. This one wasn't from the court. It was from Emily. "I lost my job. Ryan's gone. Mom won't talk to me. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wish you happiness." I stared at it for a long time. I could almost hear her voice shaking between the lines. The woman who once believed she could have everything, now had nothing. For a second, I thought about replying. Then I realized forgiveness isn't something you give to the betrayer. It's something you give yourself when you stop caring enough to hate. So I hit delete. That was the real revenge, not anger, not payback, but indifference. Because nothing hurts a manipulative soul more than realizing you no longer matter. Weeks turned into months. I started rebuilding my life, not rushing, just breathing again. A promotion at work. A few new friends. And one night, at a cafe I'd never been to before, I met someone. Her name was Claire. Simple. Honest eyes. A quiet smile. She didn't talk much about love or fate. She talked about books, dogs, and rainy mornings. And for the first time, I wasn't looking for a replacement. I was just listening. We started meeting often. No expectations, no masks. She laughed like she didn't have to prove anything. And maybe that's what healed me, her simplicity, her calm. One Sunday morning, I went for a walk through the park. The air smelled like wet grass and distant coffee. And then, I saw her. Emily. She was sitting alone on a bench, her hair shorter now, her face thinner. She looked older, not by years, but by mistakes. She saw me. Her lips parted, maybe to speak, but no words came out. I just nodded once. A silent acknowledgement of everything we'd been, and everything we'd destroyed. She tried to smile, but her eyes told the truth. She'd been living with the ghost of what she threw away. I walked past her, slow, steady. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I felt nothing. No hate. No anger. No pity. Just freedom. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't kill love immediately. It poisons it slowly, until one day, you wake up and realize, it's gone. Later that night, I sat down to write one last journal entry. Not about her, but about me. Closure isn't a conversation. It's a quiet moment when you finally stop waiting for one. I closed the notebook, smiled, and let it go. Literally. I took all those pages, years of pain and discovery, and burned them on the balcony. The ashes floated up, disappearing into the night. Maybe that was my final goodbye, not to her, but to the version of myself that believed love meant forgiveness without boundaries. A week later, Claire invited me over to meet her friends. We laughed, played cards, and talked about life like it wasn't something to survive anymore. She looked at me, eyes warm, and said, "You seem peaceful." I smiled. "Yeah. I think I finally am." And that's when I realized, revenge had never really been about destroying her life. It was about rebuilding mine. About taking back the power I gave away when I believed lies dressed as love. So, if you're still listening, remember this. You don't always need to set fire to the people who hurt you. Sometimes, you just need to walk away, and let time do the burning. Because silence, peace, and success. That's the coldest revenge there is. If you've ever been through heartbreak and came out stronger, subscribe for more stories like this. And tell me in the comments, what's the best revenge you've ever seen someone take?